Ben, I'll share this with you here for your show, and this is a juicy one, so I know you're going to like it. But honestly, the trade deadline, when I got traded and was part of the Soto deal at first, it really left me with just nothing to say. I had no one to talk to, and I really wanted a platform, something like this, to really share the story and let the fans know fully what's going on, because that was a situation where, I'll give you the details now. So at 8 o'clock in the morning on the day the trade deadline was, I get a call from the front office of the Padres saying, "Hey, you're going to be involved in a trade. There's a big trade that's happening going to DC. We're getting Juan Soto. The trade's going to have 4 minor league prospects that go with it. And then, separate from that, there's going to be a pool of 3 big league players. It's me, Will Myers, and Luke Voit. So what they then say is you have the option to decline this trade because of your contract. You have a no trade clause. So at that point in time, again, this is like 8 in the morning. I then tell them, hey, listen, this was a really hard part for me too, because I have so much respect for the Nationals organization, for Rizzo, for Davey, all those guys over there. And at that point in time, to me, I have a year or two left of my career. I don't feel like I fit the Washington Nationals plans because they're obviously in a rebuild. And that situation for me just didn't work out. The timing to me wasn't there. So back to the trade thing. So it's 8 in the morning. These players are going. The 3 big league guys are the pool. From 8 till about 1 o'clock when the trade deadline was actually happening, I think there was a big understanding in San Diego that I was the one holding up the whole entire trade, where none of that would have happened. If I then say no and use that trade option, they then select either Luke or Will. Obviously, Will being on the last year of his contract, they're not going to go there because they lose Will at the end of the season. So that is how Luke ended up being a part of that deal. So for me, from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock, I have obviously a lot of fans in San Diego that are upset because they think I'm the one holding up this whole entire Juan Soto deal. And again, I had nothing I can really say at that point in time. So not only for my situation, really not for my situation at all, I think now moving forward, this is something that I really want to stick up for the players and hope to bring some different insight to fans.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. How tough was that at that deadline where you're talking about that 8 a.m. and like Washington, that's just not where I'm going to be right now. That's just not right for me. What made you, or what happened, let's say, from the Nationals to the Red Sox deal? Was it like pretty quick, or was that like right before? I believe, because I remember getting like the alerts, that was right before pretty much the deadline was when you ended up going to Boston there.
Yeah, it was a very unique, it was a weird situation. Like I said, the DC thing to me it just didn't make sense for me where I was at my career. It wasn't appealing to do that. So from that point on, I'm talking to Scott. We're going back and forth, and I expressed to him that what I just told you, it's just not fitting for me right now. DC, that doesn't make sense. And then Scott was like, "Hey, man, well, listen, you don't want to lose being an everyday player, because if you don't end up going to DC, we don't know if they can trade you somewhere else. You're going to lose that everyday, being an everyday position player type guy." And that's where I was just telling Scott, listen, I think it's pretty obvious, it's pretty evident that the front office doesn't want me on the team. I think they will trade me at some point in time, and they ended up making the move to Boston. That's kind of how that all went down. But yeah, it got pretty crazy there, because there during the late hours, Scott wanted me to pursue having an everyday job, and I wasn't really feeling going to DC. So at that point in time, I think that's when the Boston play came about. And I honestly found out about Boston on Twitter, and then about 5 minutes later, I get calls from Scott and Heim over in Boston, and that's kind of how it all went down pretty quickly.
So what was your last communication with AJ?
It was that at 8 in the morning when, basically, hey, listen, there's a deal in place. The deal's going to happen no matter what. If you then don't, if you don't use your no trade clause, you're going to go there. If not, we just don't have at bats for you here. It's not going to work. So at that point in time, I felt pretty confident if I didn't go to DC, I was going to get traded somewhere else.